Hey YouTube, Kier Qualia here, bringing you all my Gear Chronicle Cardfight Vanguard deck profile for standard format January 2019. With the release of the Answer of Truth, I want to bring you all the first deck profile for the booster set, being the deck that I am building from the set, which is Gear Chronicle. It's a very interesting take on the deck as a whole, focusing on not actually striding, but basically doing the closest thing they could for standard format to striding, involving discarding cards for the cost of riding your grade 4 unit from the deck, and at the end of the turn retiring the unit. And the whole point of Gear Chronicle also focuses on the bind zone for the different effects you get with the grade 4s that I want to say stride, but that's not exactly the term for it. Basically just place the grade 4 onto the Vanguard Circle from your grade 3. It's a very interesting deck. Another keynote to remember is there's all new units. I think Mystery Flare is the only, cameoed monster from the original Gear Chronicle monsters. Other than that, let's go ahead and get started with the deck profile. So to start off, for the grade 4s, I run 3 interdimensional dragon mystery flare dragon. With this one, when placed, you activate all the effects below according to the sum of grades of the face-up cards in your bind zone. So if you have 3 or more, this unit gets drive +1 until the end of turn. If you have 7 or more, this unit gets a critical until the end of turn. If you have 13 or more, you choose 6 of your units and they all get plus 10,000 until the end of the turn. If you have 19 or more at the end of the turn, discard all of the cards from your hand and you get an additional turn. You cannot ride during that turn. So the additional turn is mostly what you want to obviously strive for with this deck. Having a lot of pressure with some of the other cards definitely does help for sure. Being able to get those power to rear guards, the extra crit, and the additional drive really gives the homage to triple drive from striding. But the extra turn, if you can hit those numbers with all the total sum of what you've bound, it's really the end goal for sure with the Gear Chronicle and Mystery Flare being the main 4 that you want to go into most of the time with the deck as well. But for backup units, I also run 3 interdimensional dragon, idealized dragon. With this one, same, when placed, activate all the effects below according to the sum of grades of the face-up cards in your bind zone. So if you have 1 or more, your opponent chooses one of his or her rear guards, puts it on the bottom of the deck. If you have 5 or more, you call the top card of your deck to rear. If you have 11 or more, you call 2 cards from your drop zone to rear, and 3 of your rear guards get plus 5,000 until the end of turn. So it has kind of a smaller basis than Mystery Flare did for effects, but also still very usable. Like if you weren't able to set up the bind zone as quickly as you wanted before you go into your grade 4, you have other options with Idealized Dragon instead for one of the cards you place onto your Vanguard Circle. Still very, very good being able to take care of your opponent's rear guards, and then also just, giving you rear guard enforcements, and also just having more additional calls if you have the 11 or more. I like having both the options, and I decided to stick with 3 of each just because I think it's perfect numbers if you obviously don't want to risk going into one in the damage zone. You still have plenty of other ones. Opening up in their hand is also a big one for me for the risk, because you don't want to ride them. You want to basically go off of Lost Legends effect to get them off, but I don't really have that problem too much just with some of the other options of obviously discarding for the stride costs. But I find 6 to be the best number for sure with what I want to use in the deck. And then that is it for the grade 4s. When I move on to the grade 3s. Now for the grade 3s, the only one I'm running is Interdimensional Dragon Knight Lost Legend. There's one more grade 3 option with Force in the deck, but I feel like Lost Legend, just as your grade 3 option, is your best bet to go for. For consistency, you discard cards with the sum of their grades being 3 or greater from your hand. You search your deck for a grade 4 card, ride it as stand, shuffle your deck, and at the end of this turn, you retire that unit and ride a grade 3 from your soul as rest. And when rode upon, you counterblast 2, draw a card. So this card is basically your reincarnation of Stride for standard format. You discard cards, so it's basically the same mechanics as Stride, placing your grade 4s from your deck on your Vanguard. The one thing they've done to balance out the grade 4s, obviously, is the fact that they don't have the imaginary gifts like Lost Legend has. So you can get multiple gifts, but Lost Legend being consistent at 4 in the deck definitely does help for sure. With those numbers, the draw power helps for making up for your cost for the Stride, which most of the time I hope to just use one card with all the other different options and resources we have in the deck. And like I said, that is it for the grade 3s. Moving on to the grade 2s. I do want to run 4 Lost Break Dragon. Sadly, I only have 3 at the moment. It was like the one card I was missing for the entire deck. But when placed from hand, you bind a card from your hand and draw a card. So this card automatically sets up for your bind zone with all your cards, depending on what you open as well. If you open up big grades in your hand, like the grade 4s, then you can always just bind them if you have, the cost set up for your, cost for riding with Lost Legend. And it's also available, and you can use it on Vanguard and Rearguard as well, which I like as well. And during your turn, if your bind zone has a face-up card, this unit gets plus 3,000, meaning you can hit for bigger numbers on Rearguard with it as well. So a definite 4 of for sure. I'll show what card I would take out for this in the deck in just a bit. For the other grade 2s, I run 4 Steam Hunter Lapit. With this one, when placed from hand, you bind a card from your drop zone, and this unit gets plus 3,000 to the end of the turn. Now, if you heal cards, guard, obviously this card comes in very handy, just being able to set up the bind zone with cards in your drop zone, which aren't really doing much else, since they can't be put back in the deck with any effects. So using Lipit for that really just helps for the setup for sure. Now, the sum of grades, you have to remember, grade 0s don't really help out too much there, but some of your other cards that you heal, you definitely want to go for the grades that you heal from your damage, avoiding triggers if you can, if you're going to want to set up the drop zone for her plays for sure. And then lastly, for the grade 2s, I run 4 Steam Mechanic Naboo. When it attacks a Vanguard, you bind a card from your drop zone, and your opponent cannot call grade 1 or greater from his or her hand until the end of that battle. At the end of that battle, put this into your soul, and you draw a card. So it's pressure. Very easy pressure as well, since you bind a card from your drop zone, restricting your opponent as well, and also just giving you hand consistency with this card, meaning you can protect yourself from cards like Kagero and the upcoming Narukami as well for the retire effects with this, while giving you cards in your hand. The bind effect for basically a free cost of just binding from the drop zone definitely does help for sure, since you don't have to waste counterblasts or anything like that for this card. So another definite one for sure. I decided to keep a high grade 2 count in this deck just for the fact that we need some numbers for the grade 4s to use. Decided to lower down the grade 1 numbers, so I'll show you what grade 1 will take out for the 4th Lost Break Dragon that I'd want to run in the deck. But moving on to the grade 1s, I run 4 Wedge Move Dragon. When its attack hits, you bind a card from your hand and draw a card. So you have consistency on Vanguard with the attack with this card, so a definite one you want to ride into for that matter on your grade 1 ride. Either your opponent's going to guard this or let it go through, and from your hand, when this card could be discarded, it may be discarded as a grade 3. So it's basically your stride fodder for the deck, being the cost for the grade 3. Very, very helpful. It makes up for the only fact that we run 4 grade 3s as well, just taking that place, but also still remaining consistent, being the grade 1 for a potential ride. So it fills 2 roles with the whole deck, which is very, very helpful for sure. And I also run 4 Steam Skara Kalane. With this one, when it boosts, you Soul Blast 1 until the end of that battle. Your opponent cannot intercept and can only call up to 3 Guardians at the end of that battle. Bind this unit. Now, with your Vanguard attacking for pretty big pressure, being able to boost with Steam Skara definitely does help. We don't really use the Soul for much else in the deck, so having your opponent only have the option for 3 Guardians means that they either have to plan it out wisely what they want to guard with, or have that Sentinel ready depending on what they want to do. That limit definitely does stop key big plays if they don't have the Sentinel, or if they want to save it for a risky rearguard attack that's been boosted up by some of the force markers as well. So 4 of her is a definite for sure, but there's one card I was debating with as well on what to take out for just a 3 of, so we could run the 4th of the Lost Break Dragon, and that one would be my next card, which is Quickie Worker. I'm running 4 of her as well. When placed from the hand, put up to 1 card from your drop zone on the bottom of your deck. If you put a grade 3 or greater card, use Soul Blast 2 and draw a card. So it helps with the recycle for your grade 4s, just to reuse them as well with Lost Legend. So very, very helpful there for sure. And the Soul Blast is the only other thing you'll really use Soul in the deck for drawing power. But honestly, it comes down to preference, which one you would prefer to take out for the 4th grade 2. So depending on which one you prefer, you can either take out one Quickie Worker, or you can take out a Steam Scar, depending on just what kind of play style you wanted to go for. More of like a recycle play, or just, you know, more of a pressure one. That will determine what grade 1 you want to take out. And then for the grade 0s for your starter, Primordial Draco Kid. I love the name of this card. Just the fact that it's primordial really lays on the whole time essence of the deck, but pretty standard starter, just like all the other Gear Chronicle cards and all the other starters for standard. And then for the trigger lineup, decided to stick with 8 critical and for the deck, just great pressure with the grade 4s for sure. So 4 Ring Worker and 4 Steam Bomber Degui for the criticals. And then for the draw trigger, we have Steam Guard Castilla. This is standard for all standard decks, obviously with the draw trigger being the perfect guard roll. And lastly, for the heal, for Steam Dr. Martash. Really do love the art for all the new Gear Chronicle cards we received for this set. Really, you know, plays an homage to the different units we had from the old G format for sure. But that is it for the deck profile. I hope you all enjoyed the video. Until next time, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and Kira Qualia out.